Hello, I've got a really hot topic for you because on February 5th there will be a balance changes applied to Hearthstone. 5 cards are going to get nerfed. I'm really happy that they decided to change those cards. It's really healthy for the game. You also should be really happy because this will make the game just a little bit more interesting. Few decks will pop out and will have a chance to stand other things in the meta, and also few decks will be a little bit worse, but it's just healthy for the game and also players. Also, I would like to say why those nerfs are well deserved, how the meta will look like in the future after the nerfs, and also what are my personal thoughts about the nerfs. As you can see, according to HS Replay, all decks from the tier 1 got nerfed except the odd Paladin, so it's really easy to figure out that this might be one of the most powerful decks after the nerfs. But at the same time, if there is only one deck dominating the meta, people will try to tag in against this or just try to counter odd Paladin. So basically then the meta will look like odd Paladins on the one side, and on the other one people that try to play against this. And then usually when like everyone gangs up on the odd Paladin, people will just stop playing odd Paladin, or basically you will have just like this huge battleground of two things, odd Paladins against the other decks. But whatever, this might be a really interesting thing, and I think in the end that Paladin might end up being a little bit worse, just because of people will play with a lot of board clears, or maybe just, I don't know, taking a lot of mind control decks or other stuff. And also other decks, yeah, okay, they deserve this kind of nerf because they were a little bit oppressive. I think they will be still pretty powerful, but their win ratios might drop by something around 1%, but this will give up a chance other decks to shine. Because most of decks from tier 1 are pretty aggressive, this means that after the nerfs, a little bit slower decks will have a really huge chance to just take and dominate the meta. And I'm really happy to see this, because then we'll have the option to just play with a little bit more fun decks, slower combos, and things like, for example, Q-Block might be a really powerful thing, especially against odd Paladin. You will have a lot of board clears and at the same time a really great way to kill also all those control decks, because you can just cube a ton of stuff, Doom Guards, and be really aggressive. Also something like even Warlock. So basically the deck that might be super powerful after the nerfs will be something with a pretty good way to clear the board, and also at the same time try to deal with all those control decks. So basically we need some sort of late game win condition. And a really weird thing, but it might actually work, a Druid will make a comeback to a meta because it's a little bit slower, but because most of those aggressive decks got nerfed, then Druid with the Mallegus or maybe some sort of different win condition might just make a small comeback. It might not be the most powerful decks, yeah, for sure, but something like tier 2, okay, it sounds fine, really, at least in my opinion. This is a really good nerf because finally Odd Rogue won't be as that oppressive, and you won't be able to play Leroy into Cold Blood, especially because it was super easy to trigger this kind of combo, and when you get 4 points of damage for 1 mana, it's just sick and super powerful. Right now we can compare this a little bit to Eviscerate. You get 4 points of damage for 2 mana, but first you need to combo this. It's still pretty good amount of damage that you can get, and also in few situations it's better because when you will buff one of your minions, you can attack with it a few times, twice, maybe 3 times, yep, still. So I think this is a really good playable card. It still works with Leroy, but in different decks like Miracle Rogue, or just something slower that requires, for example, Gadgeton. So yeah, I'm really happy to see this card being nerfed. It's a really big surprise for me because usually when I thought about nerfs, I thought about aggressive decks, and Equality is playing even Paladin, which is more like a mid-range deck. But at the same time I understand this because while Pyromancer with a combination of Equality or Consecration was a really powerful board clear, and it was super cheap, like for 6 mana or 4 mana you can destroy the whole board. That's great and super OP, but at the same time 4 mana is a little bit like an overkill. But at the same time, if this would cost 3 mana, then it's a buff to Odd Paladin, and we already know that this deck shouldn't be buffed. So yeah, in the end I think that's pretty okay. If you will compare this to a Twisting Nether, when you will play this for 8 mana, it's only 1 card, but you destroy the whole board. And if you will compare Equality to a Consecration, it requires you 2 cards, but at the same time you keep your board and your minions, and you can then hit your opponent face because you cleared their part of board. And I think it's pretty okay if you will look at it this way. It's a really huge surprise for me because I thought about this card more like a classic Shamey card that will never be affected by any kind of nerfs, but when you will think about this, it actually makes sense because it was a little bit too oppressive. At 2 mana you had a 4/3 minion, but okay, because this is not a 4/3 minion, but you give damage to your other adjected things, minions, tokens, whatever, and you can attack with it at the same turn. And that was the biggest problem, because actually that's super OP, super powerful, and even Shamey has a consistent way how to create those tokens or totem on turn 1, and then you can just buff it. So yeah, in my opinion, that's really well deserved. At 3 mana it still might be play, but in just a different kind of deck. It's something that relies on creating huge board, a huge amount of tokens, something like a Bloodless Shamey. Maybe we'll see this from the new expansion, and I will be really happy to play with something like this. So yeah, basically it was a huge target for the even Shamey, and I think it was still pretty well deserved, but there are different ways and 2 drips that you can still play. It will only affect this by a little bit. And finally, Hunter Nerfs. Yes, I predicted this one, and I'm like so glad to see this, because Hunter's Mark was really powerful with Candle Shot and also Spring Bow. So they decided to target something different, the removal, rather than you know, those other 2 cards that I mentioned previously. I think this will be still pretty powerful. Maybe right now, rather than playing 2 copies, they will play 1. But you know, this is still a great card and way to remove anything big, especially Taunt minions. Also, at the same time, it won't be available in Odd Hunter. I'm not sure if it really matters. Probably not really. I think everyone predicted this card to be nerfed. It's just way too powerful, especially at 5 mana when you get a 12/12. At the same time, yeah, okay, it's a nerf, but you will get 1 additional turn in order to buff this to a 3rd form to always get 4 wolves. I'm not saying that this is a buff, because it's not, but yeah, you know, still, we are trying to find the bright side. So this card, it's still super powerful. It's really great. It works with Zul'jin, so nothing really changed, but other decks will just have 1 additional turn in order to prepare for this. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, remember to leave a like and subscribe, and see you in the next videos.